All right, let's talk about the ultimate survival challenge. I mean, how do you outlast the universe itself? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But it might just be possible, thanks to a little bit of physics. So picture this. Billions, trillions of years from now, the very last star in the cosmos flickers and dies. Galaxies unravel, black holes themselves evaporate into nothing, and the entire universe becomes this cold, dark, ever-expanding void. Is that it? Is that really the end of the story? You know, scientists have a name for this. It's called the heat death of the universe. And it's a pretty bleak picture. A universe with no life, no purpose, no meaning, just endless, empty blackness. But what if there's a catch? What if, hidden in the fundamental rules of reality, there's a clever little loophole? A backdoor that an incredibly advanced civilization could use to ride it all out, to survive the death of everything. And that brings us to this incredible idea, something called the cold thought loophole. This is the key. This is the concept that might just allow consciousness to keep going long after the stars are all gone. So let's jump forward in time, way forward, 100 trillion years into the future, to meet a civilization we'll call the Noxins. They are the last intelligent beings left, and as the final stars in the sky begin to sputter out, they're kicking off a plan that is just breathtaking in its ambition. Their entire plan hinges on one beautiful, simple principle, sometimes called Dyson's Cold Thoughts. And the idea is this: the colder you can make a thinking process, the less energy it takes to run. It's all about efficiency. And check this out. This is the trade-off right here. A warm brain, like ours, might think a thought in 1 second, and it costs, say, 20 joules of energy. But if you could cool that brain down to half the temperature, sure, it takes twice as long, 2 seconds. But look, it only costs half the energy. The colder you get, the slower you think, but you become ridiculously energy efficient. So here's the catch. This whole plan is a complete non-starter for squishy biological beings like us. I mean, you can't just put a human brain in the freezer and expect it to work. To make this possible, the Noxins have to take the ultimate leap. They have to upload their minds, leaving their bodies behind to become purely digital beings in a virtual world. Okay, so they're digital now. That's step one. Now they can begin their real master plan for surviving deep time. And it's all built around this incredible cycle of cosmic days and nights. But first things first, they need power. A lot of it. So the Noxins go around and harvest the energy from all the last dying stars. They store it all up in what you can think of as a gigantic cosmic battery. It's an unimaginable amount of energy. But here's the problem. It's finite. It will run out, unless they get very, very clever with how they spend it. And this is how they do it. It's genius. During their days, they're awake, living full lives in their digital reality. But then comes the night. They basically unplug their brains, switching themselves completely off. They enter this state of dreamless hibernation, radiating their heat away into the freezing cold void of space. When they wake up again, they are colder, they think slower, but they are vastly more energy efficient than before. Now here is the most mind-bending part of this whole thing. Because they're completely switched off during hibernation, they don't experience the passage of time at all. A cosmic night that lasts for, say, 1 million or 1 billion years, to them feels like it passes in an instant. From their point of view, their existence is perfectly seamless and continuous. So let's zoom out and see how this amazing plan actually plays out over timescales that are just, well, they're almost impossible for us to comprehend. This is where you really see the scale of what they're doing. So while the Noxins are cycling through their days and nights, the universe around them is literally falling apart. The dead stars fade to black. Entire galaxies dissolve and drift apart like dandelion seeds in the wind. Even the supermassive black holes eventually evaporate in tiny, sad little bursts of radiation. And through all of that decay, the Noxins are still there, living their lives. And the wild part is, they don't notice a thing. Because their virtual world, the computer they live in, is slowing down at the exact same rate as their own thoughts are slowing down. So their conversations, their art, their relationships, their entire experience of life feels completely normal, exactly the same as it did on day one. To pull this off, the ratio of sleep to wakefulness has to become absolutely extreme. I mean, as they get closer and closer to absolute zero, they might spend almost 100% of their time hibernating, all just to stretch out that precious energy for as long as possible. Okay, so let's try to put some actual numbers on this, just to see how crazy it gets. After their very first cycle of cooling, which takes 100 trillion years of real time, how much life have the Noxins actually experienced? Well, when you account for their slower thinking, it's the subjective equivalent of 76 trillion years. And it just gets more and more incredible. As they get colder still, getting down to just a quintillionth of a degree above absolute zero, that number just skyrockets. Their subjective lifespan is now equivalent to 4,000 trillion years. Their cosmic battery is almost empty by this point, but they need so little energy to think that, to them, it feels bigger than ever before. This whole thing sounds like they've actually achieved true eternity. But is it really possible? Or does the universe have one last, final trick up its sleeve to stop them? So yeah, we have to ask the ultimate question. Does this strategy of getting colder and slower and more efficient actually let them live forever? Or is there some fundamental limit, some final wall that they just can't get past? Well, physics suggests there might be a few roadblocks. For one, dark energy, this mysterious force pushing the universe apart, might create a minimum temperature, a floor they can't cool below. Or random quantum jitters, like static on a radio, could eventually corrupt and destroy their digital minds. And then there's the biggest threat of all, proton decay, a theory that says the very atoms they're built from might one day just dissolve into nothing. But here's the thing, even if forever isn't on the table, even if they do eventually hit one of those limits, the Noxins would have still experienced a conscious existence equivalent to 2 trillion years. That's a number so huge our brains can't even really process it. And that leaves us with this really profound final thought. What if this is actually possible? What would that mean? It would mean that life, that consciousness, isn't just some brief, random cosmic accident. It could be the final, enduring chapter of existence itself, the universe's way of thinking and experiencing, right up to the very, very end.